Welcome back, ballers. Happy Tuesday. Can we get a thumbs up in the chat? I want to make sure you guys can hear us. Look at all these thumbs up. How are we doing, everyone? We're just about to get started. Welcome back, ballers, to another episode of Eye to Eye with AJ, Rambo, and Cody. Rambo, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
All right, fantastic. It looks like the chat is full tonight, Tammy says. Absolutely. I haven't seen so many chats within the last, opening 2 minutes of a video, so that's exciting. I will kick things off by saying, for one, I agree, number 777Z. Cody is very much underrated. Unfortunately, Cody will not be joining us tonight. He gave me a call midday yesterday, just let me know about some things that he has going on. So unfortunately, he will not be attending tonight's stream. But all the best to Cody. Make sure that you guys sign up and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Okay, you can find him at Decoding with Cody 589. The link is in the description of this video. You can also financially support him and his work at buymeacoffee.com/decoding with Cody. So shout out, Cody. Hopefully you get a chance to catch up on this live stream. But Rambo, how are you, my friend?
I'm okay, thanks. And I wish the best for Cody as he, deals with life.
Yeah, like we all do. Things happen. I just told Cody, I was like, hey, there's a lot more important things than a project like this, even though, like I always say, this is my favorite night of the week. So I really appreciate you joining me tonight, Rambo.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
So let's kick it off with an introduction for anybody in the chat or viewing right now that is not familiar with Rambo. I would like to give him an opportunity to introduce himself and share where people can find you and support you.
Yes, most people are familiar with me, but for those who are not,
just in case.
Yeah, hopefully there are some. That means we have some new viewers. Basically, I analyze life more or less a philosophical standpoint, and what I identify is the quote-unquote codes to the metaphorical matrix that this world is, and I identify the patterns. And clearly, if this is a metaphorical matrix, the matrix is built on archetypes, and a lot of the archetypes are the allegories of mythology, religion, symbolism, the alphanumerical code of gematria, astrology, and those are what I call the truth codes. And I can be found at patreon.com/thetruthcodes. There's only one tier, Thank you, Kimberly. There's only one tier. It's $5 a month. And you do have access to the Codebreaker community server on Discord. And it's very active. Like you said, there are some very intelligent code breakers. And they share their decodes. And you can share any of your thoughts with a lot of the brilliant community members on Discord. That's so if you're a member of $5 a month, there's some free content. And I'm also on Instagram, The Truth Codes.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, Rambo. You know, since I was finally able to get into the Discord despite being a patron for a while, man, is it active. And it's amazing because, you know, like we've learned is that the community is amazing. Strength in numbers, pun intended, right? You see one thing, you share it with the community, and all of a sudden it blossoms into something incredible, you know?
Yep.
So very nice. But yeah, so I guess to kick things off, just to introduce myself, Balll Don't Lie, 3 L's in Ball. I go by AJ as well. I have a Patreon page for those that are interested in, you know, my codes and sports picks and things like that. But I also have 10 books that I've written over the years, about 5 years now. You can find those books for purchase on my Patreon page. You do not have to be a subscriber. Or if you're interested in getting them for free, I can email them to you virtually at wordplaybook3osinbook@gmail.com. So without further ado, you know, I'm really excited about this particular stream, Rambo. I guess first and foremost, I'm going to lead by saying Happy Dog Day, everybody. Happy National Dog Day. And we're going to get more into it as to the reason why. I think today this stream is so special and the fact that it's falling on this particular day. But Rambo, we talked about you perhaps sharing a video kind of...
Oh, yes.
Not premiering because it's already been out for a few days, but giving kind of a hind story or a summary, if you will, of your follow-up to the first video you had called Hero. And you had Hero Part 2, and it got me so excited for a number of reasons, which we'll get into after we get a chance to see the little preview.
Yeah, so what this is, so what you'll present has to be put in context. Not everybody here is a subscriber, and not everybody here is familiar with my recent decodes, but this has to do with just the events of the last couple months, the last 2 months, and my last 6 or so decodes. And so this it's about 7-minute segment will put everything into context. I say that's what it is. All right, so here we go.
Get that popcorn ready, everybody.
We're going to have one whale of a main event right here after this commercial message. Gentlemen, is this the match you wanted all along, or are you going to continue your terrorist attacks on the mega powers and the defenseless Elizabeth? 3 people working as one with one goal in mind: to defeat, or should I say demolish, the Twin Towers.
It's the love, man, that's going to supercharge the mega powers and tear down the Twin Towers. And Hulk Hogan, that pain won't stop until the Twin Towers come crumbling down.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 2:32 on the East Coast, 11:32 on the West Coast. I do want to get you to a developing story that we have been following, as a Justice Department employee has been fired and charged with a felony after investigators say they identified him as the man seen in this video throwing a Subway sandwich at a federal officer. The footage obtained by our Fox 5 DC station shows the incident earlier this week during a confrontation in downtown Washington, D.C. Court documents allege the man is now former DOJ employee Sean Dunn, and that he yelled profanities at a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent before hurling that sandwich right at him, and then, as you can see, taking off running. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted about this earlier on today here on social media.
So what I'm zeroing in on is the address of the Subway store. It's 2001. That's a very important detail. 2001. We know why that year is significant.
Of course.
Yep. So that wasn't just a random subway set or a random location.
This is indirectly connected to the dog star Sirius, on which the United States Independence Day, July 4th, now the day of the hot dog eating contest on Coney Island in New York City, is based. This is related to the American 4th of July gluttony ritual. Remember Roman upper class immersing themselves in pleasures such as gluttony. The ritual is the most American of all sports: competitive eating. The Nathan's Coney Island, New York hot dog eating contest that is held every 4th of July with nationalistic themes. The winner, who is usually Joey Chestnut, receives the mustard belt. The mustard belt has the green and yellow motif of Subway. And it looks like a wrestling belt, like the kind worn by Blondie himself, Hulk Hogan. Hoagie. The full name of the GOAT, greatest of all time, of competitive eating, Joseph Christian Chestnut, has a value of 2022 in Sumerian, which highlights that year in particular. Did anything stand out in the 2022 4th of July Nathan's hot dog eating contest? Yes, it featured a protester of a brutal pig farm in Utah. Utah, think of the Subway sandwich store located on U Street in Washington, D.C. Chestnut had to choke and violently throw the protester aside mid-contest, and then continuing with the competition, which he won anyway. That was in 2022, the gematria of his full name. The protester was protesting a pig farm. Hot dogs are made from pigs. Pigs are pink. It's the most popular color that you associate with a pig. That's the color of the shirt of Sean Charles Dunn, the sandwich thrower. It's the color of ham. Think of the color of ham, that pale pink. Color coding is something to be paid attention to. Just as number coding and allegory and symbolism, Sirius is the dog star, part of the constellation of Canis Majoris, the great dog in Latin. July 4th is when the star Sirius, the sun, and Earth are all perfectly aligned, a Sirius-Sun conjunction. About a month from that alignment, when Sirius returns to view, that's the heliacal rising, you get the hottest time of the year, which is the dog days of summer, which is a Sirius reference, the dog days. The term searing heat is based on Sirius. In relation to Sirius, the dog star, think of the term hot dog. Sirius is the hot dog. Canis Major constellation, which includes Sirius, the dog star, is metaphorically the dog of the hunter Orion. The three stars in the constellation of Orion are known as Orion's Belt. A huge shout out to Janet B., who shows us that the flag of the District of Columbia was designed by Charles Dunn. The Subway sandwich thrower was Sean Charles Dunn. Absolutely mind-blowing connection. Absolutely no coincidence there. Thanks again to Janet B.
So the three stars on the DC flag are Orion's Belt. That's what the three flags are.
Oh.
The three stars on the flag of Washington, DC. or Orion's belt that I showed there. So it's directly related to Sirius. So that's it. That puts everything in context.
Yeah, I was able to finish parts 1 and 2, and I gotta say, I think part 2 was my favorite. Like how you shifted to pink, I was like, I wonder where this is going. And I'll tell you this, having watched it, viewers, there is a lot more to be said about that video. But Rambo, I appreciate you at least chopping it down a little bit just to kind of set the stage a little bit about some of those themes that you've been on. And to me, it's just, once again, amazing. I think you guys will understand why now it's so interesting that we're having this stream today on National Dog Day. And I want to shout out somebody in the chat here, because I want to pull up my screen. Hold on just a second. Because I wrote about this in my first book, or not my first book, sorry, my book, The Hand, right? One that I keep referencing back to. Let me pull it up here. Today is not only National Dog Day, like we talked about. Today is also the death anniversary of Bob Barker. So Bob Barker dies on National Dog Day, which matters because Bob Barker was in the movie Happy Gilmore. And then who died shortly after that? Chubbs Peterson from Happy Gilmore, right? And that's what kind of led me to writing that book. But thank you. Sorry, I think I lost the comment in the chat somewhere. I just want to give them credit for reminding me. Where were they? Oh, there we go. It was Tammy. Yeah, Tammy brought that up, and I was like, oh my God, that's right. Yeah, Eric K pointed that out too. So I think that's a good way to kick it off first. I mean, Bob Barker also in Happy Gilmore, which you talked about with the whole subway themes in Happy Gilmore, right? But I'll kind of leave it there. What else would you like to elaborate about that, Rambo?
Oh, well, that was a great point that they brought up Barker. Dog barks. There's another aspect to this. This is one of the key, I say, rituals to the Matrix. Explains why the world is the way it is today. Destruction of the sacred feminine. Destruction of the divine feminine. I've talked about it over and over, and it's a metaphor. It creates an imbalance. There's a male energy, there's a female energy that should exist in balance, but there is an imbalance which goes back to ancient times. If you just look at world history, it's just a history of war, destruction, invasions, and rape. That's the history of the human race. Since ancient times, they removed this. It's a metaphor for a force. So I mean, these are forces that are not visible. You feel them, just spiritual forces. And so what they do is they anthropomorphize these forces just to make them understandable in three-dimensional terms for humans. So they'll call these certain forces, a goddess or a god. That's what polytheism about. It's just explaining these different forces in nature, and you anthropomorphize these forces as gods. So one thing they've done consistently is remove the divine feminine, the Abrahamic religions especially, and they did this since the first temple of Solomon. So Judaism is not like original Judaism. What you see now is not the same. And the Abrahamic religions are offshoots of, that's why they're called Abrahamic, because of Abraham. The original Judaism, the original temple of Solomon, honored the feminine and the masculine, the two poles. You have the two pillars of Kabbalah, which are they're mirrored by the twin pillars of Solomon's temple. There's a male pillar and a female pillar. In Solomon's temple, they used to honor a god and a goddess. It was Yahweh and Asherah. Asherah was removed. Asherah no longer is part of Judaism, but that was the original Judaism. And that began the destruction of the divine feminine. And most humans on earth who are religious adhere to an Abrahamic religion. Well, when you go to the heart of it, they removed Asherah. And that's where it all started. Well, it started in other words, because that's not there were other, it's happened before. But nonetheless, so you think of 9/11, that's behind a lot of these rituals. And so when we talk about, you'll talk about Elizabeth and the Hulk Hogan event, which I showed, which was in 1989 when they did clearly they knew 100% what would happen in 2001. They knew, because they had him talk about continue your terrorist attacks against the helpless Miss Elizabeth. I could replay it, but no need to replay it. But that's what he said. So very important, that was your terrorist attacks against the helpless Miss Elizabeth. And they talked about handcuffing her. That's all they did in the whole skit with Hogan and Randy Savage. And later on, I mean, for those who've seen the video, in that skit, she actually ends up getting knocked out and she looks like she's dead. And they actually do predictive programming for the death of Elizabeth Hewlett, who's Miss Elizabeth. They did predictive programming for her death in that skit. So they predicted 9/11 and the death of Elizabeth Hewlett, where she was taken into a medical area, clinic. She's unresponsive. So what it comes down to is this date, August 26th. I've given that as a background. Yes, it is National Dog Day. And you can look this up, bring this up on the screen. What else is August 26th along the lines of what I'm saying? Women's Equality Day. This is destruction of the sacred feminine. It is not a coincidence.
Oh my God, man.
Not a coincidence that they put it on National Dog Day. Destruction of the sacred feminine.
That's amazing, Rambo. I also want to shout out Kimberly. I think it might fall right in line with what you're talking about. When I think of destruction of the feminine, in a way, I kind of think about the whole depopulation agenda, right? Because, you know, women are the portals essentially, right, for humans to enter this material plane. Man, the chat's firing up today. But yeah, Kimberly said that Bob Barker was an advocate for spading and neutering your pet, and he said that every Price is Right episode. So I mean, I've seen clips of the Price is Right here and there, but I never would have known that. I think that's kind of interesting. But wow. So Dog Day is the same day as Women's Equality Day.
And plus, I mean, I don't know how harsh a derogatory term is. It depends on the context it's used, but the word bitch,
right,
for a female. That's
yeah, no, I mean, I think about that too. Like if you play that game where they give you female and dog, I think a lot of people would think of what word that is. But I guess I would be curious to know more as to why that's the term for a female dog, you know?
Yeah, I guess later on it came to be used. Humans adopted it. But also the dog star Sirius, that's a female dog. So Sirius the dog star, that's specifically a female. It's actually considered, that star is associated with that star is associated with Isis of ancient Kemet, Egypt. It's the star of Isis, the dog. So the dog is female.
And once again, as a reminder, Bob Barker was in the movie Happy Gilmore, which Rambo has been touching on with the whole Subway connection since that Subway sandwich throwing story.
I think Bob Barker had one of these. Yeah, you remember the Me Too movement and all these people certainly being outed for sexual harassment?
I do remember that. I don't
Wasn't
remember
Bob Barker accused?
Was he?
I think he was like, if you type in, let's see, Bob Barker sexual harassment accusations or something, I think he was, if I remember correctly. They came after him too.
He was sued for sexual harassment by a former model.
Diane Parkinson. Can you look up Diane Parkinson? Maybe she has a special birthday or...
Let's take a look. Diane Parkinson birthday.
November. Well, that's St. Andrew's Day.
I
don't know that's how that fits in, but yeah, it's.
Is she still around? Looks like it. Yeah, I feel like everyone was getting thrown under the bus during that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've covered a lot of ground so far. I'm trying to find a smooth segue into kind of the next kind of portion of this decode. You know, at least kind of some of the things that I was seeing with you, and I always love to run things by you. And if you're telling me that, oh wow, yeah, no, there's something there for sure, then at least I know I'm going down the right path and I'm not reaching for anything.
Okay, well, so this connects to the Hulk Hogan 9/11 prediction. Hogan just died. Hogan of the red and yellow motif. Hogan, Hoagie, Subway sandwich, and Miss Elizabeth. So she's the, I guess she could be, because she was wearing during that skit, and you can see it, that pale pink color, which is a very important ritual element, is that pale pink color.
Yeah, big time. I mean, that was what really, well, it wasn't the pink per se, but it was really the hot dog themes that really got me thinking about a different movie. And pop quiz to anybody in the chat, if you guys know where I'm going with this, throw that movie in there and we'll see if you get it. But let me just look to get my screen back here really quick. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, I guess, before we dive into maybe some of my slides, and then we'll kind of flow from there?
No, I think I've pretty much put everything in context. Also, just put the whole Dog Day in very important context.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, on Women's Equality Day.
Yep.
Perfect. So obviously we just covered the recap of Hero Part 2, Code Pink. Make sure to go check that out, you guys, because there's a lot more to it. I think that video was almost 20 minutes, wasn't it? It was like
yeah, it's a 19 minute. Yeah, it's almost 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh yeah, you know what? I just farming from scratch. There he is. Good to see you, man. He just mentioned Sausage Party. Oh my God, what a terrible movie that was. But they're actually coming out with a Sausage Party 2. Like, I don't know if it already just came out or if it's coming out soon, but I remember seeing a commercial for that. So something to think about there. But think about this, you guys. We're talking about Subway, which is a sandwich, right? Adam Sandler, sponsored by Subway and Happy Gilmore. Part of Rambo's video touches on how Shooter McGavin, or his character in Happy Gilmore, he's running out of the store. He's being chased. That's another dog theme, right? There's a lot more to it. Rambo, have you ever seen the movie Happy Gilmore? Or is it more just kind of clips and stuff?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, no.
Yeah, so this is essentially a reference to the first movie, where at the end of the movie, when Happy Gilmore beats Shooter in the championship, they're putting the green jacket onto Happy Gilmore, and then he goes, no, that's my jacket, and he runs and he like rips it off of him, and then he starts running away, and then the whole crowd chases Shooter McGavin. So that's kind of just the back end context as to another, like, meaning the viewers that aren't seeing what we're seeing, they're laughing at that particular reference of the first movie.
Which kind of puts the sandwich thrower in context. He's being chased by the ICE agents from the Subway store. So, like you see, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And he's holding drinks too, and you typically put ice in your drink, don't you?
I see. Okay, yeah, that's good connecting. Yeah.
It's interesting. But yeah, so just think about sandwich, Sandler, and then on the third word, we have Sandlot. That was the answer to my pop quiz. It made me think of the Sandlot for a number of reasons, right? And before we get into that, talking about Adam Sandler for a second, Rambo, I think I just informed you of this today, but Subway just last year also, they brought back a fan favorite called the Sub Dog. So apparently this has actually been a thing, maybe like a seasonal product that Subway does every once in a while. I don't know if it was just in Australia, but they ran it from September 2nd to October 6th of last year. But yeah, Kimberly says Sandman also. Rambo, you and I were talking about that, like the hourglass in time, right? That's a whole other theme as well. Think about the sand pits on a golf course, you know, all that kind of stuff. Sand trap, yeah.
Also think of Back to the Future when he arrives at 1955. The song that's playing is Mr. Sandman.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, Back to the Future reference, right?
Yeah, exactly. And with the Sandlot, right, down here on the bottom right, you guys can see Hamilton Ham Porter, right? He did some sort of YouTube special with this gal who played Ren from Even Stevens back in the day. But point being, there are only two teams that are referenced in the movie, The Sandlot. The Dodgers and the Yankees. The two teams that just so happened to play in the World Series last year, right after James Earl Jones dies, who played Mr. Myrtle in the Sandlot, who owned the dog Hercules, right? Oh, you know what? Shout out to Maggie too. Maggie points out that we'll follow. Well, at least I remember this. So, haha, meatball. Think about a meatball sub. Well, Adam Sandler's dog's name is Meatball. So that's a fun fact there. But back to the Dodger theme. You know, for those that don't live in Southern California, I grew up out there. You know, the Dodger dog is a big deal. So there's that hot dog theme right there alone with the Dodgers. And for a couple other references of Adam Sandler movies and hot dog references, I never watched this movie. I never will. But I came across this article. This is back in 2011 when Jack and Jill came out. There's a scene where Al Pacino woos the cross-dressing Adam Sandler with a hot dog in a new screwball comedy, Jack and Jill. So Al Pacino sends him a hot dog that says, "Call me." I'd be curious about decoding even the phone number here.
I have a major part of this one. It ties into my decodes.
Let's hear it.
Do you remember the Blondie part of my decode?
Yep, of course.
Call Me is the biggest hit by the group. You're familiar with Debbie Harry of the group Blondie?
I am.
Yeah, her biggest hit was Call Me.
Sing it for us.
No, that's not happening. What? Do you really know it, or are you familiar with it?
Well, no. I mean, the most recent "Call Me" song I remember is "So Call Me Maybe." Hey, I just met you.
Blondie. So Blondie was.
I know.
Blondie was part of my decode. You saw it in the beginning when I showed Blondie, the comic strip with the big sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
For the group Blondie, the music group Blondie, which was big in the early 80s, their biggest hit was Call Me. So it ties into.
Wow. Okay. There you go. Yep. Wow. If only I was as old as you are, Rambo, then I would know that. But the other example I found here was there's also another movie that he was in. It's not his only voiceover role, but I think it might be one of his only cartoon roles. It's called 8 Crazy Nights, and it's kind of a musical. And there's a scene where they're at I think it's a basketball game, and I'll sing it. How many hot dogs did you eat? I think it was 35. So you have that other hot dog reference. So I just wanted to share those ones with Adam Sandler, the Sandlot, Subway sandwiches, meatball sandwiches. His dog's name is Meatball, et cetera, et cetera. But this whole code for me really stemmed from watching your Code Pink Part 2 of the Hero video that you did. And it made me start thinking about the Sandlot a lot. And sure enough, I remember the scene of 4th of July, by the way. This is the scene from the 4th of July. It's the only night game that these kids play because the sky is so bright from the fireworks. And of course, Ham Porter is running down the neighborhood picnic or whatever, and he's loading himself up a hot dog right next to a blonde woman. It's kind of hard to see in this screenshot, but a blonde woman in pink. And these are all the screenshots from Rambo's video talking about these different protesters and things related to pink. So I'll pause there.
Yeah, if you screen share, I can just even point it out that she was blonde.
Yeah. Let me do that.
I just want to confirm. Let me see. All right. I want to confirm the song by Blondie. So let me screen share. Let's see, screen share.
I just had your screen up, but maybe you need a different tab or something.
A different tab, yeah. So this is the song "Call Me" by Blondie.
Oh my goodness.
"Call Me" is a song by American new wave band Blondie and the theme to the 1980 film American Gigolo. The lyrics by Blondie singer Debbie Harry. "Call Me." Now, I'm just wondering Debbie Harry's birthday. No, July 1st, that's 7-1. That is very significant to this. It's just right by, it's when, it has to do with the location of the star Sirius on July 4th, which is a big part of the video. But yeah, this is Blondie, this is Call Me, this is a song. It came out February 1st, 1980. And I believe it went to #1. Call Me was #1 yet for 6 consecutive weeks in Billboard Hot 100. Yeah, I just want to share that.
And I think, for what it's worth, I think Carl Weathers, his reported death is February 1st. I know they changed it, but I say that because Carl Weathers was in Happy Gilmore, but not trying to dampen the flow at all. I just had to throw that in there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the Sandlot, right? So, like I pointed out here, that this is the first thing that came to mind when Rambo was talking about the hot dogs and ham, right, and pigs and the 4th of July. So it made me think about the Sandlot. And sure enough, I never knew this. I don't know the movie that well, but I start playing the scene, and sure enough, this woman is standing right next to Ham Porter as he's making a hot dog wearing pink, and she's blonde. I mean, that checks like 5 boxes on top of all of these other protests that have been going on recently. Rambo, you even talked about this guy, right? He threatened to or tried to assassinate Trump or something like that.
If you want to believe that story, then yes, that's the official story. This is the second assassination attempt of Donald Trump. And the thing is, the way this ties into Happy Gilmore is he's a shooter. He was a shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how that ties in there. And if you just look at the visual of him and the subway thrower, look how similar. It's very similar in handcuffs with the pale pink shirt. It's a very similar visual.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing, shout out Enthused Dreams. I didn't know this, but maybe you do. The artist
I had no
Blondie.
idea. I had no idea about that one. Dog Star Girl. Wow.
This is why we love collaborating. Yep. Dog Star Girl and Call Me. Interesting.
Wow. Dog Star Girl. See, that's because of her birthday. She's born July 1st. That's why they're doing it. In the tropical zodiac, Sirius is in Cancer. July 1st is in Cancer. And so Sirius, you can't see Sirius on July 1st. It's behind the sun. They call it the sun behind the sun. It's a very important alignment, which is why the Independence Day of the United States of America, agreed upon between Britain and the United States, was July 1st. It's because of the alignment with Sirius at that time. So July 1st is around that time. That's all to do with Sirius. So Dog Star Girl, that's amazing. I didn't know she had that song.
Especially with what we were just talking about, that female dog analysis, Dog Star Girl. But for those that haven't seen The Sandlot, a huge theme of the movie is a dog by the name of Hercules. And I just thought that was amazing because, Rambo, you've talked a lot about Hercules. I want to say you touched a lot about that on part 1, right? About how Hercules matters and how he's related to Hulk Hogan, right? And that kind of stuff. Would you mind elaborating, or I can pull up a,
you can. So I actually have more. I didn't want to.
Oh, perfect.
A little bit more, but I still want you to finish your Sandlot thing, because I still have more. Just it's a little bit of context, but also some new information that connects to this. But
okay, perfect. So I really only got a couple slides left here.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So just emphasizing that the running theme of this movie, I gave you the summary last night, but it's just these kids playing ball during the summer. There's actually a tab I have. Maybe I'll share it later. But anyways, it's just these kids playing ball, and then this kid, Scotty Smalls, he doesn't really know how to play baseball, and then he takes his dad's signed Babe Ruth ball and blah blah blah. I don't need to tell the whole story, but it's this dog over the fence that the kids are always scared of. Anytime the ball goes over the fence, they call it a day because they would never dare go over the fence. And of course, Scotty is too ignorant to know any better, and he's trying to be cool. So he jumps over the fence, or he was going to. And then, that's when all the kids run and stop him. But anyways, a huge dog theme. The dog's name is Hercules. And the main or the best player on this Sandlot team is a character by the name of Benny the Jet Rodriguez. And sure enough, Benny the Jet Rodriguez, the actor, he ended up quitting acting back in '97, and then he went on to become a firefighter. Sure enough, he was also in NYPD Blue. It's kind of interesting with the New York themes, and he was also in Chicago Hope. Makes me think of a Chicago dog. But I just thought it was crazy. If you guys look up, Benny Rodriguez, where is he now? You're going to see a lot of photos of him like this with his dog, of course. And then this is kind of pivoting back to the Elton John stuff that we've talked about, right? The Queen Elizabeth and Ozzy Osbourne, the celebrity death match with Ozzy and Elton John. But when you and I were talking about this last night, when I was kind of giving you the hind story about this movie, it made you think about Benny and the Jets. And sure enough, Benny and the Jets by Elton John, right? Yep, the Enthused Dreams pretty much chimed in the moment I said it. So just amazing. And then I also sent this to you a while back after your first or part one of the hero, because you were talking a lot about love and sandwiches and how Jordan Love is the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and they have the colors of green and yellow, right? All that kind of stuff. But it made me think of a sandwich shop called Ike's Love and Sandwiches, right? Sure enough, they are originally founded in San Francisco, and that's where the next Super Bowl is going to be held. So just some food for thought, pun intended. So that's all I had, Rambo.
Oh yeah, so I have a little bit more.
Do you want me to bring my slides back?
No, I'll take
pass it off
a different screen. If I could,
Okay.
yeah, I want to change the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just use this second to remind everybody, please hit that like button and or the subscribe if you guys aren't subscribed to us yet. We really appreciate it. Obviously, Rambo is not on YouTube, but please make sure to support his work on Patreon as well. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks. So I'm explaining why Hercules is relevant to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan talked about tearing down the twin pillars. So he's a Herculean figure. And the twin pillars are part of the mythology of Hercules. These are they actually call them the pillars of Hercules. The north pillar is in southern Spain. The south pillar is in northern Africa, in Morocco. And Hercules is said to have separated the two continents at the Strait of Gibraltar. And so the twin pillar destruction is related to Hercules, and that's actually one of the references esoterically that Hulk Hogan was making. And the twin pillars of Hercules are actually on the Spanish flag. In fact, it says Plus Ultra. This symbolism is on a lot of the tile work at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's Florida mansion. He has this figure, the twin pillars and Plus Ultra, which means more beyond. And the waves here are the Atlantic Ocean. You're actually facing west when you look at this. So you're to the east of the pillars, and you're looking out to the west at the Atlantic. Behind you is the Mediterranean, and the pillar on the left is North Africa, and which is to the south. To the right is Spain. That's north. So you're looking west, and yeah, those are the twin pillars. And what are the colors of the Spanish flag? Red and yellow, like Hulk Hogan's colors. And so one of the reasons I titled it Hero is because it's a hero sandwich. If someone's standing up to authoritarianism, he's a hero. So hero can have multiple meanings, but Hercules is a hero. In fact, Hercules is the biggest hero of all of Greco-Roman mythology. The term hero also refers to Hercules. So that's why Hercules is relevant in Hulk Hogan's birthday, 8/11. How that's the same birthday as the Green Bay Packers, who wear the subway colors. And this is more about giving context as to the significance of Sirius and how central it is to the whole spirit of the foundation of the United States of America. And so the goddess of the star Sirius, although the star Sirius is also associated with Isis, is Sopdet. Now, this is the hieroglyphs for Sopdet. It's kind of small. Hopefully you can see that. It's a pointed object. That's the Washington Monument. And then a pentagram. Well, the United States flag has 50 pentagrams. I think the pentagram is pretty important to those who established the United States. There's 50 of them on the flag. Nobody's got more pentagrams in this country. Then there's it's a dome, actually. It's like a two-dimensional dome right here. Well, that's the Capitol dome. There's also a pentagram in the street patterns of Washington, D.C. So there's the Pentagon. So the Pentagon, there's the pentagram in the street patterns of Washington, D.C. Again, this is Washington Monument, the pointed object. This two-dimensional dome is the Capitol. Then there's an oval here. That's the Oval Office. There's also the White House ellipse. It's a egg-shaped pattern behind the White House. All those things are there to represent the hieroglyph of Sopdet, and Sopdet is Sirius, the dog. That's how important Sirius is to the founding United States. And again, July 4th, I'll talk about that. So Michael Jordan, this is why he's considered, he's a chosen one to them. He was born, this is in the tropical zodiac, he was born with the star Sirius ascending on the eastern horizon. So they actually have his birth time, 1:40 p.m. on February 17th, 1963. This is 13 degrees Cancer was his ascendant. That's where Sirius is located, in the tropical zodiac. That's why he's associated with Sirius. That's why the song Sirius by the Alan Parsons Project was the intro music to the Chicago Bulls during his dynasty. So he's very much associated with the star Sirius. Also in tarot, he's an Aquarius because he's born February 17th. The tarot card for Aquarius is called the Star Tarot card, and the Star Tarot card represents Sirius. So even just from a tarot standpoint, he ticks two boxes. Not every Aquarius is born with Sirius ascending. That just happens to be his time of birth. So that makes her kind of extra special, I guess. His birth is super significant. That's why he's a Sirius symbol. Sirius the dog. There was a dog named Sirius, very famously died at the World Trade Center in 9/11. Talked about Hulk Hogan and the 9/11 tear down the Twin Pillars. Well, there was a dog named Sirius. He was a service dog for the New York City Port Authority, and he died on 9/11. Sirius, like, we know what that's all about. Also, the Twin Pillars. This is in the tropical zodiac, so Sirius is in Cancer, in the tropical zodiac. But in astronomy, actual astronomy, Sirius is in Gemini. Hope that's not confusing. But the tropical zodiac is not the same as astronomy or sidereal. So Sirius could be associated with Cancer or with Gemini in astronomy. So there's the dog Sirius. Again, a reminder of his birthday and why he's associated with Sirius, 13 degrees Cancer in the tropical zodiac. So the dog Sirius, again, this is the dog day. This is why Sirius is so relevant here, who died on 9/11. This is his handler. So this is on September 11th, 2001. And remember, the Subway sandwich address was 2001. No coincidence there. Or just some random guy in a pink shirt and tight shorts throwing a sandwich at ICE agents. No, why is the Attorney General talking about it? Like, normally that's not something the attorney, well, 2001 is a big part of that story, the address of the Subway store. Well, his handler, the dog Sirius, who died on 9/11, is David Waymond Lim. And see this gematria of his name in multiple ciphers. But before I do that, we'll explain, the importance of Michael Jordan to Sirius, the relevance of that. This is a very iconic picture taken in 1988 at the NBA All-Star Slam Dunk Contest in 1988. This is one of the most iconic pictures in sports history. The NBA All-Star game in 1988 was held in Chicago, so he was at home. He was never going to lose that. The final was between him and Dominique Wilkins. So I think anybody's objective is that Dominique Wilkins had the better dunks, but again, he's Michael Jordan. He's chosen. He had Sirius ascending, so this is what they do. But the important thing about this iconic picture is the time, 3:51, and it's amazing how they do this. How can they time this? Did they tell them to jump at this time? And then I don't know how they did it, but this is significant on so many levels. The time, 3:51 was the time, frozen in time for this iconic picture. I made it a little closer here, 3:51. 3:51 is the gematria of heliacal rising of Sirius. So that's when the star Sirius, after being invisible behind the sun for 70 days, first appears. That's the heliacal rising. In ancient Egypt, that's when they started their new year. It's a really big deal, heliacal rising. But the new year we have now, January 1st, is also associated with Sirius. But the name of the dog Sirius's handler is David Waymond Lim, sums to 351. And this is in the modern K. Why is modern K? This is a Francis Bacon cipher. Francis Bacon is one of the most influential people on the modern English language. I mean, it developed over a long time. So, but if one person had a huge impact, it's Francis Bacon, and on Freemasonry. And G is 33. There's no other cipher where G is 33. We know the significance of G. Think of the Green Bay Packers logo, the G, and 33. Well, that's the reason they call him modern K, because he uses the modern alphabet, not the Francis Bacon alphabet. David Waymond Lim is 351. This is an important cipher. 351, that's, again, the reminder, 351. I don't know how they plan all this stuff. So David Waymond Lim.
Wow.
Again, this is another Elizabethan cipher. Again, these should not be ignored. Francis Bacon, this is Francis Bacon. He wrote the King James Bible. He's one of several people who wrote the works of William Shakespeare. He wrote a lot of the rights to English language Freemasonry. He should not be underrated. In fact, some people consider Francis Bacon to be almost like an ascended, somebody who reached such a high spiritual level that he can actually voluntarily move in and out of dimensions, if you can fathom that. But there's a belief that Francis Bacon, by some, whether it's true or not, maybe he is, I don't know, he actually is at that spiritual level. He can move in and out of dimensions, and he can appear at pretty much any time he wants to, almost like an angel type. That's the status of Francis Bacon. I'm saying, which is why I need to emphasize not to take the Francis Bacon ciphers lightly. But so this does use the Elizabethan cipher. But look at David Waymond Lim, 217. That's Michael Jordan's birthday, with the serious significance. Michael Jordan. David Waymond Lim sums to 70. And why is 70 significant? Because the star Sirius is invisible for 70 days in the year. All these numbers from all these ciphers just line up with Sirius. His name just happens to line up with Sirius. He just happens to be the handler for the dog Sirius, who just happens to have perished on 9/11. But yeah, so that's the significance there. And this is just a Wikipedia, just a general example of a search that confirms the 70. Wikipedia, Sirius worshipped as Isis Sopdet, who I showed, by Egyptians, was named the dog by the Greeks and Romans. The 70-day period of the absence of Sirius from the sky. So this is another Historum.com that talks about it disappeared for 70 days. So just to confirm the importance of that, I talked about Joey Chestnut, the hot dog eating champion. His full name, Joseph Christian Chestnut, was 2022. That was the year that the activists bum rushed the stage and interfered. A lot of things happened in 2022. A lot of two separate pink flare invasions in the NFL, including opening day in 2022, Rams Bills, and then again when, I don't know why the Rams are so involved, San Francisco 49ers were hosting the Rams. There's another pink flare. It's in my video. But 2022, Joseph Christian Chestnut, that's the goat of competitive eating, the hot dog champion. And we know what hot dog has to do with Sirius. Well, David Waymond Lim, we're not done with him. The Agrippa cipher, the Latin cipher, his name sums to 2022 in reverse. It's 2202. That's the reverse of 2022. So he's not just some average guy. It's David Waymond Lim, who was the handler of Sirius the dog. And again, on July 4th, this is why July 4th is so special. This is when they have the hot dog eating contest. This is why we have the U.S. independence. The Earth moves to a position behind the sun. It's already behind the sun. It's just relative to Sirius. The sun is fixed. Sirius is fixed. Earth moves to a position where you can no longer see Sirius. At this point, Sirius is called the sun behind the sun. And as far as, I guess, on an esoteric or a magical level, Sirius at this point is said to empower the sun. So Earth is reliant on the sun's energy, but during this period, they say the sun is actually getting some, you could say, spiritual energy from Sirius. That's why it's such a sacred time.
Rambo,
yeah.
Quick question. You were talking earlier about how July 1st, 7/1, was initially the agreed upon founding date of America.
No,
right?
no, I didn't say that. No.
We were talking about 7/1.
Yeah.
Earlier, and I thought you said something about that being the original birthday of America.
No.
Okay, I apologize.
But
I feel like an idiot.
No, but so July 1st is around this time. Like it's almost a perfect alignment on July 1st. But the reason they use July 1st for females is because it's the gematria of sacred feminine. Elizabeth Hewlett was 7/1, and they destroyed her in ritual. They even killed her off. They even did a ritual predicting her death. And her name comes to 7/1. So we were talking about the significance of 71. 71 it's a huge number. Hulk Hogan died at 71. Babylon is 71. And Babylon's the one who destroyed Solomon's temple on 119. But so the date I was talking about, which they changed New Year. New Year used to be in spring, which made sense because the sun was returning. This is in Europe, which is the northern hemisphere. Yeah. The sun returns in spring, so it made sense to have New Year's in spring. It used to be April 1st, actually. That used to be the New Year. But then the Catholic Church changed it to January 1st. That had to do with the other alignment, which so this is the alignment on July 4th. This is this is called a Sirius, from Earth's perspective, Sirius and the sun are in conjunction. The other alignment is when Earth moves over here, which I'll show. And that's January 1st. And that's why that is New Year. So, and in ancient Egypt, it was the heliacal rising of Sirius when they had their New Year. So Joey Chestnut, CNN says Joey Chestnut says he prepares to eat 70 plus hot dogs in 10 minutes. So why did they say 70 plus? Why is that the number? Well, we know why, because it's the period that the Sirius is invisible, and it's on July 4th, when this is the alignment with Sirius on July 4th, and they have the hot dog eating contest. The hot dog is Sirius the dog star. And so this is a story I hadn't brought up yet. But those who are familiar with the Washington, they used to be called Redskins, now they're called the Commanders. They have this hogs reference. So the hog is the pig. So the pig reference is very relevant to Washington, D.C. specifically through the NFL. Their NFL team now is called the Commanders, used to be called the Redskins. They identify with the hog. And so in 2022, there's that year again. This was in 2022, the year we keep talking about. The Commanders decided that they wanted a mascot. And their choice between mascots, now hog makes sense if you understand the hog tradition of the Redskins / Commanders. But it was a choice of two mascots. Commanders mascot themes narrowed to two choices: dog or hog.
Wow.
Now, we understand hog. Okay, let's get into the hog thing. Let me see if there's an explanation of hog. Why are they associated with the hogs? Let me see. All right, so the hogs. Okay, this explains the hogs. This is from Wikipedia. The hogs were a nickname given to the offensive line. And it wasn't always offensive linemen. They were honorary hogs, like John Riggins, a running back, was a honorary hog of the Washington Redskins, now known as the Washington Commanders of the National Football League during the 1980s and early 1990s. That's when they were one of the most dominant teams in the NFL, renowned for their ability to control the line of scrimmage. The Hogs helped the Redskins win 3 Super Bowl championships. That's Super Bowl 17, sorry. Yeah, Super Bowl 17, Super Bowl 22, Super Bowl 26, which is very relevant, under head coach Joe Gibbs. So that's who the Hogs are. Joe Bugle. So that gives you context. So it would make sense then, right, for the Commanders to have a hog mascot. Why was a dog a choice? Why was a dog ever a choice?
Joe Biden?
That is related. But The dog has never had any connection with the. I could see the Cleveland Browns having a dog mascot. What do the?
Yeah.
It has to do with Sirius. That's what they. So the dog was never really. It's there for the Sirius. Look at this. So the Washington Commanders have narrowed its mascot search to 2 themes: dog or hog. What do you think?
Well, I guess I'm just saying because this came out in 2022, right? When this decision was being made. And that was when Joe Biden was in office and his dog was named Commander, right? So
Absolutely.
I don't, that's just my own,
That's
my only take on why they would do that. But
that's a great addition. But Biden had 2 dogs.
Yep.
One was Commander. Do you know what the name of his other dog was?
Major?
Absolutely. And do you want to? So they finally settled on the hog for their mascot. Do you want to see the hog's name? Are you ready for this?
Oh my God.
Washington Commanders announced a new hog mascot, Major Tuddy.
Major. So they still threw the dog theme in with the hog.
But why did they use Major? Why is Biden's dog named Major, and why is the Redskins mascot, which is a pig, named Major when it was between him and a dog? Why are they all using Major?
Canis Major.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Canis Major.
Well, and you know, I was talking with TJ yesterday on our stream. We were talking about like the dog surfing championships, which just recently ended. You know, the cute little dogs on the surfboards and whatnot, and just you know how the moon controls the tides and all that kind of stuff. But he kind of helped brush me up on that, and it made me just think like that's why a dog is called a canine, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's exactly where it comes from. Canis is my guess.
No, I think so. Canis, I think it comes from the Latin word, I think, for dog.
Okay.
And then they named the star after the Latin word for dog.
Gotcha.
But it can be also known as the wolf star. Native Americans call it the wolf star.
Hold on, really quick. What the bottom left there? Puppies?
Yeah, puppies. Yeah, puppies. Yeah.
I'm gonna call it puppies.
Yeah, puppies. Yeah.
Puppies right below Canis Major and Sirius, the dog star.
Yep.
Poop. So, you said you call it pupus?
Pupus, because it probably comes from Latin.
Well, and all living creatures poop, right? But
well, dogs are known for that, aren't they?
Dogs, exactly.
But
the wordplay is hilarious to me.
So yeah, so Canis Major is the constellation, and Sirius is the brightest star in the constellation. Now there's another star in this constellation, but it's very distant. This might be it, this tiny one, and
the pink one.
Yeah, it kind of does look pink at a distance. I don't know if you remember Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Yep.
So that's actually based on this massive star. So this is actually bigger than Sirius, but it's further away, so you can't see it. It's a red star. But so Clifford the Big Red Dog. The reason I'm mentioning the red dog is because it's part of Canis Major. But red dog is actually a anagram of Dodger, which I just realized when you were doing your slides. I saw the word Dodger.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
the Dodger dog, and Dodger is an anagram for red dog.
Oh my God! Whoa.
Yeah. I just noticed it as you did your slide. Like, oh wow, that's an anagram for red dog. Yeah, and you have the Dodger dog. Yep. So yeah, so this is Major, Joe Biden's dog, and the other dog, like you mentioned, is Commander. And why is Joe Biden so important? Well, JB, this is about related to, so the Twin Towers are the Twin Pillars of Solomon's Temple, which had to do with 9/11. Washington, D.C. was a big part of 9/11. 9/11 became an important number. You have to go back to ancient history. When did 9/11 first become relevant? The destruction of the first Temple of Solomon. Babylon chose, and Babylon is 71. That's your other big 71, it's Babylon. They chose the 9th day of the 11th month of the Jewish calendar to destroy the Twin Pillars of Solomon's Temple. That's when it became sacred. And then Rome used that same number that Babylon used to destroy the Second Temple. The Nazis used that same number to do their coup attempt of the German government in 1928. They used the 11th of November. The 9th of November. The Nazis, again, to start the Holocaust, had Kristallnacht on the 9th of November. This all goes back because they considered themselves, the Third Reich is the They said Rome was the Second Reich. They're the Third Reich. They identified with Rome, but Rome identified with Babylon. They all use that number 119, and it has to do with the destruction of the twin pillars of Solomon's temple. But the one pillar was already destroyed, which is Asherah. So there's a lot of destruction of that sacred figure. The twin pillars in Freemasonry also venerate Solomon's temple in different forms. It's not necessarily physical. It's a spiritual allegory. And the twin pillars are JB, Jachin and Boaz, and those are Joe Biden's initials. I hate to judge, but I don't think he's that big a spiritual symbol, honestly. Not to judge, but it's those are very important initials. That's why they're using his dog. But look at how they portray him. He's pathetic. Senile, mumbling over his words, tripping in public. I mean, he's not exactly a sacred. So yeah, he's an example of destruction of the sacred masculine, Joe Biden. And he's a Scorpio ruled by Mars. Mars has the male symbol, so he was destruction of the sacred. They were debilitating Mars using Joe Biden. So that's actually another form of destroying the twin pillars was Joe Biden, because he was pathetic. They actually destroying the temple through Biden, through the destruction of the male in that sense. Remember what I said the new year was based on the location of Sirius, January 1st? Guess when Tuddy was introduced officially? Major Tuddy.
January 1st.
On January 1st. And why is that? Did I show the... This is why. On January 1st, this is where Sirius is. This is where Earth and Sirius are relative to each other. This is the alignment on January 1st.
So it's where the Earth is closest to Sirius.
Yeah, so now Earth is actually close. Before it was over here. That's called a Sirius-Sun conjunction. Earth moves here. This is called a Sirius-Sun opposition.
Okay.
And then the new year starts then. January 1st. So is it a coincidence that the pen, like they call it the pig pen, the pen opens January 1st, 2023. And the name of the pig is Major. What is that? That's Canis Major. So that's your pig and Washington, D.C. relevance. This is the the pig has so much more relevance to Washington, D.C. And this Super Bowl 26, I think, is very interesting. That ties into Donnie Darko, but that's for a different...
That's for tomorrow night.
Yeah. And so the head coach of the Commanders, Dan Quinn, look at his birthday, September 11th. But look at the year he was born, 70. Think it's a coincidence that he ended up as the head coach of Washington, D.C.? That he's born in 70 on September 11th. So another way 70 relates to September 11th, the number 911. Solomon's temple was destroyed on the 9th day of the 11th month. That's Tisha B'Av. The Romans destroyed the second temple in the year 70. The first temple was destroyed, and then the tribes of Benjamin and Judah were in exile in Babylon for 70 years. This all goes back to Solomon's temple as well.
Hey, Rambo, can I pause you for a second? I wanted to add something that Maggie mentioned. Maggie mentions that the Redskins, right, who you were talking about, they were founded in Boston. Okay.
Yeah.
And to me, that matters for two reasons, talking about the Sandlot, right?
Yep.
We were talking about Hamilton Ham, the great Hambino, Ham Porter, right? Kind of sounds like porker. It's like one letter off. But so the Redskins are from Boston. And you and I were talking about the actor who played Ham Porter. Do you remember his name? I know it was very brief.
No, I forgot it.
His name is Patrick Renna.
Oh, okay.
And and look, Dan Quinn's middle name is Patrick, which is interesting. And I say all of that to say that I don't need to share my screen, but Patrick Renna is from Boston.
Yeah.
So that kind of rolls right up into the whole ham, porky pig, hogs themes. Not to mention hog, hogue, hoagie, right? You know, the sandwich connections that you've touched on. That's amazing.
Another thing too is that sandwich that was thrown, the guy who was filming it he actually took a close up of the sandwich when it was on the ground, and it was a BMT specifically with banana peppers. And
Really?
yeah,
Really?
he took a close up of it. He actually identified it. But a BMT is full of. It's got I actually did I looked up what a BMT contains. It has a lot of ham in it. It has salami, and yeah, it has ham and it has salami in it. So it does have a lot of pork in it. The sandwich that he threw on DC, in DC, yeah.
Yeah, to me that's just an amazing alignment there. In that the Redskins are originally from Boston. We're talking about Dan Quinn,
Yep.
head coach of the Washington Commanders, and his middle name is Patrick. Patrick Renna plays Ham Porter in the Sandlot, and he's from Boston, right? So
And
that's wild.
2 of the planes on 9/11 originated in Boston, from Boston Logan, which rhymes with Hogan. International.
Wasn't one of them going to L.A.?
Yeah. Well, yeah. LA was one of the destinations, and then they said they were hijacked. But 2 planes took off from Boston.
But really quick, Rambo, and I'll throw it right back to you since we're talking about Ham Porter. I just wanted to throw in this color symbolism where you were just talking about the Spanish flag emblem,
Yeah.
right? Notice that blue right in the middle.
Yes.
So it's all red, yellow, and white with a little splash of blue.
Yes.
Well, this is the most iconic outfit that Ham Porter wears, and this is the moment where he's the great Hambino, and he points to the fences, and he does actually hit a home run in this scene, and all the kids get mad at him, but he's all happy. But just notice the color symbolism here, you guys.
No, I'm glad you showed that. If you look up, so this ties into soccer, which is the biggest sport. The World Cup is going to be in the U.S. in 26, and Trump, he's connected to that. Look at the Spanish national football team. Look at their uniform. That's the uniform of the Spanish national football team. It's red and yellow top, navy blue shorts, and then red and yellow socks. Yeah. So if you just to get that visual,
yeah,
you'll see how it ties into the Spanish national football team. You see, that's their uniform with the blue shorts.
Wow.
And Spain has the twin pillars, the pillars of Hercules, on their flag. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, Ham Porter is dressed with the Spanish colors.
Yes, the colors of the Spanish national football. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah.
You have the floor again, Rambo.
Yeah, I'm almost done. No, but thanks for adding that, because yeah, that ties right in. And we just had, so speaking of the Spanish national football team, they just had, they're the world's #1 ranked football team right now in the world of international football. That is the #1 ranked team and the favorites to win the next World Cup. Right now, they are the European champions. They're men. Their women are the world's champion. So Spain has the men's European champion. Spain has the women's world champion. Spain's women actually were the European champion as well, until England just defeated them right after Hulk Hogan died. Hulk Hogan of the red and yellow, who talked about the twin pillars coming down. The twin pillars came down when the Spanish women were defeated by England. But actually, no. So Spain women were not a European champion. England were the women's champion, and they retained the women's championship. But there's this rivalry between England and Spain going on. So that's something else which could tie into football, but I'd be branching off too much. But since you brought it, you see the relevance of those colors and just how important it is. The #1 national team in the world wears those colors. They have the twin pillars of Hercules on their flag, on their crest. That same symbol is all over Mar-a-Lago of Donald Trump, which is the pillars of Hercules and the Plus Ultra motto. And now you know why it's 1-1. Why they released this on January 1st. It has to do with the alignment of Sirius. That's why they chose January 1st, Earth and Sirius. That's the new year. And the Hogettes, I think football fans will be familiar with the Hogettes. These are the diehard Redskin fans, they dress up in just playfully in drag, and they have their snouts. And there'll always be one in that color, that pale pink color. I'll hug it. And some people actually, some fans, they said, if it's not Redskins, could we name the team the Washington Hogs? Actually, a lot of fans actually wanted the name to be changed to Hogs. But, think of also a sort of a pejorative, you could call it, for the police. They call them pigs. And ICE are police. You could say ICE. Yeah, ICE are pigs.
Point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Washington Hogs comes to 71 in the Pythagorean cipher. Speaking of the relevance of 71, Washington Hogs. And this is the Miss Elizabeth. Were you talking about this pose here?
Yeah. For
anyone, it's familiarity. I think, Benny and the Jets by Elton Hercules John. So yeah, that's it for what I had to add. But the hog, the main thing was to show how the hog is so directly connected to the NFL team from Washington.
Since we're on this point still, I just want to shout out Quantum, asked a great question. Would this tie into the Odyssey movie in the, I think it's called Epic? The Epic? I don't know. Circe turns Odysseus men into pigs. Interesting.
Odyssey. Okay. Oh yeah, I'd have to get more of a context, but yeah. So yeah, pigs have a lot of. There's so many. The pigs have been used in a lot of different contexts. So yeah, if I was more familiar with that, I could answer that question better. I'm thinking of the passage from the Bible where there's a man possessed by demons,
mm-hmm.
and then the demons are talking through the man, and Jesus is talking to the demons, but they're possessing the man, and Jesus asks them to identify, what is your name? And the demon responds, my name is Legion, because we are many. And then Jesus casts the demons into a herd of pigs, and the herd of pigs runs over a cliff and commits suicide. This is from the Bible. So that's another context. I know that seems a little
you're saying that the hogs run off the cliff? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Jesus cast the demons out of the man and into the herd of pigs. Once the demons had been cast into the herd of pigs, the pigs ran over a cliff and committed suicide. But they before he asked them what their name was, they said, we are Legion, because we are many. That's just I just throw in another context for pigs.
It almost kind of falls in line with your gluttony comments.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, just gluttony, just shoving your face all day, every day, and, shortening your lifespan, essentially. Right? Kind of a similar theme there.
Yeah. So those are the various contexts in which a pig can be used. So for the Odyssey, I'd have to look more into that one.
That's okay.
The pig serious connection is interesting. But yeah, so the commanders are very, you can see front and center. Dan Quinn, look at that birthday. You have the 70 in there. You have the 711. First thing I see, that's Solomon's temple. It was destroyed in the year 70, Second Temple, on 11/9. And then 9/11, DC was part of the whole thing. So he's not randomly picked. Now, he's not just picked for his personality and leadership ability and football knowledge. No, that's not why he was picked. Even though he has those things, there are many other people who has the same or greater head coaching ability than Dan Quinn. He was picked for ritualistic reasons, and his birthday, as well as, not that he doesn't have any ability, he has them, but so do many others. His birthday was the clincher for him.
Oh, definitely. I have another one for you, Rambo, tying back to the Sandlot, and I know that you haven't seen the movie. This is one scene from the movie I I failed to mention to you. I didn't want to tell you every single scene of the movie, but you get the gist. Shout out to Steven. He said, Big Chief chewing tobacco. And he says that because in the movie The Sandlot, you can see in this like top left corner of the screen, there's a scene where all of the kids in The Sandlot, they go to the carnival or, you know, the fair, whatever you want to call it. And one of the kids pulls out Big Chief chewing tobacco, you know, and you've done a lot of work on how the chief represents the sun. It represents Leo. It represents Hulk Hogan, same colors, all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well, that there is even a chief tribute, the Big Chief. And this looks like the Chicago Blackhawks logo in a way.
But think of the arrows too. The arrows, arrowhead, Kansas City Chiefs, arrowhead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Yep. And of course, you know, the Redskins share the same colors as the Chiefs.
The red and yellow, yeah.
Yeah.
Which are the colors of Spain. Spain seems to be very relevant. So PIGS is also an acronym for the Mediterranean countries: Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain. Now, some of them don't like that acronym, but it just fits that way. That's for the and that's where the Pillars of Hercules are, in the Mediterranean and the whole Hercules and the Greek mythology.
What were they again? Could you do it again?
Portugal.
Yep.
Italy. Greece.
And Spain.
Spain, yeah. That's PIGS.
Well, 2 of the 4 already stand out to me. Port, like ham porter, and then Greece, you know, like bacon, bacon and grease, you know. But okay, yeah. Wow. So it's an acronym for what again?
It's those 4 countries in the Mediterranean, the southern Europe.
Okay,
but I think they also have some kind of political, economic association, I think. But they're not always thrilled with that acronym, but it is an acronym for those 4 Mediterranean countries. There's another thing you might want to look up. I was explaining how they're doing destruction of the sacred masculine with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So look at Minnesota Vikings male cheerleaders. Now there are male cheerleaders, but they're like real gymnasts. That's not how these guys are. These are not like the usual gymnasts who accompany cheerleaders.
Yeah.
No, these guys are. I don't know why they're doing this to the Vikings, but the Viking fans are not thrilled by this. Yeah, just one guy in particular.
Yeah, they keep showing this guy.
Yeah, it's they're going to have I don't know if this is going to go on all year. And look at this. Look at the one where they're on the second row, the middle one, where there are 4 of them. Yeah, if you click that, they're in a female's bathroom. They're in a women's bathroom. This is what's disturbing about it. So they're doing this skit in a women's bathroom. So why are these 2 males in a women's bathroom? That's why it's disturbing. It's not just, you know, these macho fans who don't want to aren't very flexible. No, it is disturbing. And so that's part of, yeah, the whole video that goes with it. Oh, it's an all-gender restroom.
It's an all-gender restroom, Rambo.
Okay, there you go. Now, this is the thing. Think about an all-gender restroom. Who does that affect? Does that affect men and women equally? No, it does not. All-gender restroom is an attack on the females. So if you have somebody who's born biologically female who identifies as male and enters a male space like a male bathroom, does that affect the males? Are the males threatened by that? No, it is not. It actually affects the female who identifies as male, entering the male space. Now, if a male identifies as female, someone born male, biologically male, enters a female space, enters a female locker room, does that threaten the females? Yes, it does. This is not even, like you're saying it's even, it threatens both males and females. No, it does not. It affects females disproportionately. An all gender restroom affects women. It's threatening to women. Somebody with male genitalia in a women's bathroom is nowhere near the same as someone with female genitalia in a male bathroom.
Right.
I've actually seen it happen. I was at a gym once, and these two girls walked into the men's locker room. Guys were laughing. Guys were making jokes about it. Guys were kind of suggesting, "Oh, if I had known that, I would have, kind of given them a show or something." This is a big joke.
Yeah.
Women won't be joking, laughing if two guys walk into the females' locker room.
So they just walked in and
they just walked
like
in.
They own the place.
No, yeah, and they have to use the bathrooms. There's actually a context to that. They're actually renovating the bathroom, so there was a temporary bathroom, and what they do is they switch male bathroom to female. It was kind of complicated. They're actually doing renovations. They actually had been switching. So I guess these women were confused, but they strolled into the men's locker room and just used the toilets. They saw the guys in there, used the toilets, and then left casually as if nothing. And the guys were just like laughing. Like women would not have been laughing if two males had done that in the women's locker room.
With you bringing that up, I have kind of a humbling / embarrassing / bizarre quick story with regards to this exact topic. Okay. I was at a bar. This was probably 10, 15 years ago at this point. And actually, no, probably around 10. Anyways, I was at a bar in Chicago, and the women's line to the restroom was insane, right? Like kind of like you see often with very big packed venues, packed concerts, whatever. And so much so that the women started taking over the men's bathroom. Like straight up, they were just using the men's bathroom 100%. And I'm walking up, like I'm passing all the women to go to the men's bathroom, and they're like holding me back. They're like, "No, you can't go in there." I was like, "What are you talking about? This is the men's bathroom," And after a couple drinks, I was like, "Screw this! I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going into the men's bathroom." And I go in, do my thing. I come out, and I get a fat glass of whatever drink was in their hands. I walk out, and I just get completely splashed in the face, just completely soaked coming out of the bathroom. And I was like, I was just on the side of like, this is the men's bathroom, and I'm going to use the men's bathroom. And there were like 30 women in line that were so pissed because they were using the men's bathroom and wouldn't let me go in. I went in, and then they punished me for it. It was just that. Wow, that was a bizarre story.
Okay, yeah, that's a little different than the all gender thing. Yeah, that's
Well, I mean, but it kind of falls in line with this with the topic, at least a little bit. It's not an all gender bathroom. It was a male and a female bathroom. Yeah. And regardless of those rules didn't apply, at least that night. You know what I mean? So, anyways, it's a funny story to laugh about, but at the time I was just like, man, the heck.
Actually, I don't think it's funny. I mean, I can understand you kind of laughing about it. They're just not enforcing the rules, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen it. I've gone to a male bathroom and waited for it to be available, and a woman walks out. I think everybody's seen that.
Yeah, I'm getting some love and sympathy in the chat. They were like, that shouldn't happen. I mean, I agree. I wasn't expecting it. I was just like, you know what?
Yeah, but for a female to be angry at you, that's when it's like,
yeah, that's
another level. Yeah. That's
especially because like I think it was because the line was so backed up on the women's side that they were like, you know what? Screw this. We're just gonna take over the men's bathroom too. And then I wasn't having it. I was like, no, I'm going.
The establishment has to take control of a situation like that,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nothing else came of it. I mean, I just went back and like people were just like, what happened to you? And I'm like, I got a story for you. But anyways, I do want to be cognizant, Rambo. We are hitting that 1.5 hour mark. We've covered a lot of ground. Was there some other things you wanted to touch on? I'm combing the chat, seeing if there's any kind of follow-up questions that anybody might have. Just want to be cognizant of your time, Rambo.
No, the main thing was that hog connection. The biggest pig connection to Washington, D.C. was that Hogs. You can't forget that Hogs nickname for the Redskins offensive line and their mascot, Major.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking about gluttony, this just hit my brain. Think about bacon wrapped hot dogs. I mean, pork on top of pork, you know?
We were talking about Francis Bacon too.
Yeah.
That probably wasn't his real name. Who knows if there even was a Francis Bacon? They may not even been a Francis Bacon.
Yep.
It's like you say, they might not have been an actual Shakespeare. They may not have actually been a Francis Bacon. I wouldn't be surprised if there never was a. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But the name Bacon, yeah, I think there's symbolism in his name.
Yeah, I mean, bacon sounds like baking a cake, you know. So there's kind of that whole play on words too.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think we covered a lot of ground. You know, once again, I know you're always busy, Rambo. I'm always so appreciative of your time. I value it greatly. I'm just going to close out by saying thank you to everybody who's been watching. We've had over 80 plus people viewing throughout the show tonight. Our apologies, as well as on behalf of KODI, for him not being able to make it, but he said he will do his best to be back next week. So no big deal. I think once again, we were able to carry the load. So make sure that you guys are following and subscribing to his channel. Reach out to him. Wish him well. You know, nothing insane. Okay, I don't want to like freak you guys out. He just had to take care of some business. But once again, thank you guys so much for all of the contributions in the chat. This was probably one of the most active chats that I've seen so far. It's hard to keep up when I see certain comments that I want to pin and stuff, and it just keeps getting flooded with more. So that's a good problem to have. I will end by saying Rambo and I will be on again tomorrow on the Occult Rejects for our second joint guest appearance. I'm not going to give anything away other than saying that we will be touching a lot on Donnie Darko. And I had never seen it until Rambo told me about 2 weeks ago. I just told him in passing I hadn't seen that movie, and Rambo was like, dude, you better get on that right now. So I did, and sure enough, it's like now one of my newest favorite movies, even though I'm 25 years behind the curve. So thank you, Rambo, for turning me on to that movie. I'm really excited about that presentation as well. And I'll pass it off to you to close this out, my friend.
Well, thanks again for putting this together. And thanks for everybody who watched. And you're welcome to Enthused Dreams. I'm sorry, I can't I didn't catch that name. I was about Enthused Dreams. Yeah, thanks to everybody for watching and everybody who supported. And yeah, it's also give good wishes to KODI. I know you said it's not anything too dramatic, you know, hopefully. So good wishes to KODI in general. And I look forward to tomorrow's presentation, and hopefully those who watch this will watch that as well.
Yeah, and the Enthused Dreams did ask what time is tomorrow's broadcast. So it's going to be at 7 p.m. Central, which means it'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so keep an eye out for it. Nick, the host, he's going to be generating the link tomorrow. So as soon as I get that, I'll do my best to have it up prior if I can. Since I'm not hosting it, we'll see. But just keep an eye out for those times. 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great follow-up to what Rambo was cooking in the last stream. So, all right, you guys. Well, thank you again so much for staying up late with us. We really appreciate it. Rambo, thank you so much as always. Love always, everybody. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe and the share wherever you see fit on the way out. We love you all, and we'll see you again tomorrow and next Tuesday. Peace out, everybody.